Well, it's changed quite a bit. I mean, I was fortunate to come through the ranks of it, from the U15 level to playing U17 World Cups, U20s, things like that. But uh, I was fortunate to play with, to me, the best of the best with Landon Donovan, Clint Dempsey, Michael Bradley.
Hello, welcome to the United Soccer Lounge. My name is Riley James. This is episode 29 right here on Goals TV. Today on the show, we chat with Luis Gil of the Spokane Velocity. He has a plethora of MLS experience, spending 8 years on the top flight of American soccer, mostly with Real Salt Lake, but a few loan spells with Orlando and with Houston. He also played abroad, playing in Liga MX, and then spent 2 years in the Czech League over in Europe before returning to the United States to play in USL League One. The first 2 years with Omaha, and now the captain of the expansion side, the Spokane Velocity. He was really gracious in talking about his career. We talked about his time with the U.S. national team, a youth experience that was pretty much unparalleled at the time. 62 appearances, 14 goals on the youth level, and then following that up with 2 caps on the senior level for the U.S. men's national team. But we talked about playing in MLS, having all of that experience, coming into a squad where he is now, quote-unquote, the old guy at 30 years old, and helping that team through some growing pains in their first season here in USL League One. Really was a great interview. I've interviewed him before when I was a reporter down in Houston. He was there for a few games on loan. It was nice to reconnect with him, much like it was Marlon Harrison back in the first couple episodes of this series. Thank you so much for watching our show today. If you like the show, you can always do the internet personality things, which I'm telling you to, which is subscribe, like, share, do all the things on the goals.tv platform, and share it to your friends on whatever social media platform that you prefer. But our interview with Luis starts right now on Goals TV. Please welcome to the show a man who has played 8 years in Major League Soccer, mostly for Real Salt Lake. 62 caps for the youth national team, 2 caps for the U.S. men's national senior team. He's played in Liga MX in the Czech League, and now he's come home to the USL League One. Spent the last 2 years for Union Omaha, and now he's the captain for the Spokane Velocity. Please welcome to the show, Luis Gil. Luis, thank you so much for hanging out, man. How are you?
No problem, man. No, all good over here, man. Just enjoying it. Love it. Loving the Spokane life.
Yeah, you've lived all over the place, and I'll ask you about that in a minute. But I want to ask about the team first. You guys are sitting in 7th with just a few matches to go. Secure enough in a playoff spot, but obviously don't want to jinx anything. What has worked so well this season in Spokane to put you in a position to get a ticket to the dance?
Yeah, I mean it's been a wild ride so far. I feel like a big thing for us has been the adaptability. Um, as an expansion team, I feel like that there's always that pressure of, okay, what is this team going to become? It's always a little bit difficult, stuff like that. But I feel like in the beginning of the season, we had to adapt a lot to injuries. We got plagued with injuries in the beginning of the season, and that kind of hindered our progress towards finding that identity that we were trying to build. There's quite a few times where we didn't even have enough players to put on a roster, game day roster, which made it difficult. But now that we're kind of towards the end of the season and we got pretty much all our guys back, we've also had to adapt to certain formation changes as well, which kind of puts like the other teams, in kind of limbo of, okay, how's this team going to play this week? In the beginning of the season, we kind of played with 4 in the back. Now we've kind of switched to playing 5, being a little bit more defensive, where the game kind of opens up a little bit more. But I feel like we've surprised quite a few teams in that aspect. And, I feel like we're still building on it. And, it's put us in a good position so far to put us in a playoff spot. But obviously, for me personally, I would like to be in a higher spot and hopefully at least host a game. So, I mean, that's the push, in these last, I think we have five games left. So it's going to be difficult. It's going to be a grind, but I feel like we're prepared for it.
Yeah, and Spokane, obviously, with the location, tough place to play. It's a long travel day for somebody.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
tell me. Oh, it's tough for us too sometimes, when we go on the road. So
Now, working through a couple of those injuries over the course of the season, the growing pains of an expansion club at this level, you're the old guy within the group at 30. You're the captain. You've led this team on the pitch. How have you led them off the pitch, kind of pulling them through some of the tougher parts of the year and getting yourselves into a playoff position?
I know it's kind of crazy, huh? Because when I was like starting my career, I know I was super young, but the more established guys, were kind of like, the leaders were 30 to 35, and those were, kind of the older guys. Whereas like now, obviously I know football's kind of gotten a lot younger, especially in these lower leagues and stuff like that. But um, I feel like I bring a lot of experience, with the 15 years that I've played. And a lot of these guys, I try and be examples for them on the field. I know I have a lot of conversations with the younger guys, whether it be after a training session, if they've had a bad day, or they're just frustrated that they're not getting enough playing time, things like that. I'm always there for them. And they come up to me, which is something new for me as well. I've never really kind of been in that position to where I've had to be that mentor for them. But I've actually embraced it and I love it, because I feel like I have a lot of stories as well. And I've kind of had my ups and downs as well and been in their positions where, and where we can relate. So in that aspect, I feel like, I've kind of taken that role on of being a mentor for a lot of the younger guys. But on the flip side as well, though, too, I've kind of, pushed these guys as well, competitive wise. There's there's a couple instances like in trainings where I've kind of gone at these guys one on one, and like, all right, we're battling it out, we're getting after it. I'm the old guy, like you say, all right, come on, show me that you're the young guy, show me that you're better. So I feel like I'm kind of driving that competitiveness for them, and I feel like it's been paying off.
Yeah, the old guy with 17 appearances so far this season. That's a lot.
Yeah.
You started, like you said early on in your life, playing this sport and playing at a very high level. You started with Real Salt Lake in 2010. You've worked your way through loans and playing in Mexico and Czechia and playing on different levels of USL. This has been quite the journey. So, how much do you relay your stories and your experience to those younger guys, and really what has been the benefit that you've arrived in Spokane to an expansion franchise, no less?
Yeah, I mean, having all those experiences, man, I like to try and tell guys, to enjoy the process, because it's going to be difficult, man. It's going to be ups and downs. You're going to have your good years and your bad years. You might play at higher levels and lower levels. Um, but for me personally, it was something that I had to learn, to be more strong mentally. Have that competitive drive at a younger age. I feel like I was so at my younger ages, I feel like I was always just kind of not going through the motions, but observing more than anything,
Yeah.
and now it's like after I kind of reflect on that, and I feel like if I would have at a younger age, maybe pushed myself a little bit more, who knows what could have happened. But like I said, obviously there's different factors that go into it, coaches, teammates, and stuff like that. But um, it's something that you got to enjoy the process. You gotta, like I said, you never know where you're gonna be. It's a beautiful thing though as well. Football is going to take you all over the world, whether it's here in the U.S. or in different countries. Um, and so to be able to be a part of it, it's just an amazing experience.
And in that same vein, if you were to go back in 2010 and talk to a very young Lewis, what would you tell him? Would it be to 100% every training session, every game, or do you have anything you would do differently during the career?
Of course, I feel like that's the biggest thing is just giving it your all because it's such a short period, such a short career. I feel like I'm actually enjoying it more now more than ever. And I look back and reflect on it, and I'm like, man, I could have been feeling this way at such a younger age, right?
Yeah.
Um, but obviously, like I said, you're in different situations. There's a lot of times where, hey, you're competing. You have to get after it. It's this or you know what, you're not going to play. So, but at the end of the day, you have to enjoy it because, like I said, there's a lot of factors that go into it. Maybe a coach just might not like you, and maybe you're just having a year where things aren't going your way. So you got to enjoy it, and you got to maybe learn lessons while you go through that process, and take little bits and pieces with you throughout your career.
Yeah, you've played against some very high profile names in your career, so I imagine there's been moments of learning. It really is amazing how much the youth is wasted on the young in all aspects of life, but especially this sport. But as we look back at your youth career with the U.S. youth program, 62 caps, 14 goals, that elevated into 2 caps for the U.S. men's national team at the senior level. Now that you've had a few years removed from the program, how do you view your time with U.S. soccer and U.S. soccer as a whole?
Well, it's changed quite a bit. I mean, I was fortunate to come through the ranks of it, from the U15 level to playing in U17 World Cups, U20s, things like that. But uh, I was fortunate to play with, to me, the best of the best with Landon Donovan, Clint Dempsey, Michael Bradley, these types of guys where there was a big shift in football getting a lot younger. Those guys who used to make the national team were guys who were established, and had to, win championships and make a name for themselves. Whereas now football's kind of got a lot younger, and which to me is good as well because you kind of keep a core group of players together and kind of build from there. Um, but I still feel like we're still missing a little bit of that drive and that will to because when you put on that jersey, man, the U.S. national team jersey, it's that's next level. That's the best of the best, right? You're competing against the best players in the world, and to me, it has to be an honor, and you have to go out there knowing that this is going to be a grind, and I'm going to represent my country to the fullest.
Right, and it's such an opportunity now with Pochettino coming into the senior squad and the changes and the ripple effect that's going to have on the rest of U.S. soccer. Obviously, him and MAAs being the 2 leads of both programs, it's a fantastic time to be a supporter of the U.S. and hopefully it's a great time to be a player. So, U.S. soccer is going through a lot of different, just call it PR spins over the course of the last 10 years. People like me will sit in the seat and criticize and criticize and criticize, but they've gotten a lot of things
Yeah,
right along the way too.
of course.
Especially with the development of really, really great players now. So hopefully they keep that going. Um, outside of soccer, outside of clubs, outside of anything involving the little ball you guys kick around a pitch, you've lived in a lot of places, right?
Oh yeah.
Salt Lake in Mexico, and we talked about Houston before, and now you're living in Spokane. You lived in Nebraska the last couple of years. Is there a
Oh
place
yeah.
that you love and that you are going to maybe call home once this is all over?
Oh man, that one's tough. Honestly, like you said, I've been to a lot of places. I would say visiting wise, I would recommend Prague. Living in Prague, man, I knew nothing about Prague before going there. Obviously, I was going there for football. And that place is just incredible. I always recommend that place to anybody if they're thinking about a vacation. Going to Prague, Czech Republic is just top notch for me. But I would say to after football, I would probably want to live. I've kind of narrowed it down. I've had this conversation before, especially with my wife. Now that I have a son, things like that. It's obviously going to be a decision that I have to make with them. But I've always, 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 and this is not because of being in Houston, but I've always been a fan of Houston. I love the city. Just Texas in general. I just love the vibes of it. Houston has been one of my favorite cities. Obviously, playing there, I loved it as well. But I think I narrowed it down to I would say Houston and maybe Phoenix, maybe somewhere in Arizona. I'm always been a big fan of Arizona as well. I don't think I would move back to California as much as I love, my family still being out there. I love California, but I couldn't see myself living in California.
Yeah, they have planes. You can get to California
Yeah,
from somewhere else.
yeah, we're close by to that, so we're good.
Yeah, it's you like the hot weather, huh?
Think I do, man. As much as I complain about it though, too, like I don't know. I guess I love it. I guess it's for me.
I'm from Lake Charles, Louisiana, which is about 2 hours to the east of Houston. So I'm on the same
Yeah,
like all the weather Houston has on a Tuesday, I'm gonna get on a Wednesday. So I'm familiar with just it's brutal. And
yeah.
you spent some time in Houston. I covered a couple of those matches where they're playing at night because you can't play at two
Oh
o'clock.
yeah, it's stuff. Yeah, I mean, same thing. Trainings, man. Sometimes we'd be training 8, 9 o'clock at night just because the heat is just so bad.
Yeah, no, that's ridiculous. But you know, the people that live there and the culture that they built around the club, especially now with Ben Olsen and being good, it's special. So best of
Yeah,
luck to the Dynamo as they go through their MLS playoff run as well. I want to talk about Spokane. It's where you're currently at right now. You spent
yeah,
enough of a time there to understand the community and the soccer surrounding the area. You play for the Velocity. The women's team just welcomed their USL Super League life a couple of weeks ago. What about this community can support two professional soccer teams on the men's and women's side?
man, it's crazy. They're doing big things over here in Spokane. I feel like a big part of it has to do with the ownership. They're very involved with the team. I always like to give them shout outs to Ryan and Katie Arnitzo for all the work that they've done. Um, I mean, it's difficult just bringing in an expansion team, and now you're bringing in the top level for the women's team as well. But they're very involved with the team. You see them quite often here, but they're also involved, and they make us involved with the community as well. Whether it's appearances or little activities that we do with the community, but you see them show out, man. They love the sport here, and it's kind of blown up. I feel like they've always been waiting for something like this here in Spokane. But just you can tell like most of the games are sold out. Packed stadiums. Obviously, it's not crazy thousands and thousands of people, but you're getting a crowd of like 5,000 fans for a USL League One team, and now bringing in the Super League with the women's side and doing the same thing. That's a tough thing to do, and the fans are showing out for it. So I like to show a lot of love to the fans as well because without them, none of this would happen.
Right. And I mean, the fact that Spokane, Washington, a place out of a lot of people's consciousness, right? You're up in the Pacific
Oh, for
Northwest.
sure.
You're
Yeah.
in the shadow of Seattle in a lot of senses. It is it's just not talked about enough. These little
Yeah.
gems of American soccer. And I had on Marlon Harrison, who I don't know if you guys are in Houston at the same time.
Oh,
He
yeah.
plays,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, he plays for Hartford up in Connecticut.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
We talked about the same thing in the
Yeah.
USL
No, no.
Championship. Hartford's this little gem of American soccer that not a lot of people know about. Spokane is getting the recognition they deserve with the two teams, and the beginning part of the Zephyr and what you guys have done this year. I mean, it's really really cool, and to hopefully follow that up with 3 points after 3 points after 3 points is going to make that community fall in love with you guys even more. So it's a really really great thing to see up in Washington.
Of course, man. No, I mean, especially me and my family, man, we've enjoyed it all across the board. And then to be a part of it with the community as well, man. They've embraced us from the beginning. And you can tell they're a football city and they're showing out for us and they're putting themselves on the map. So, shout out to all of them.
Yeah, and we'll make sure to get you out of there before the winter hits. Um, the last thing I'll ask you about, cannot thank you enough for your time. You spent 8 years in Major League Soccer, right? A significant amount of that time with Real Salt Lake. A
Yeah.
great career that spanned it across a couple different clubs. You have now played almost 3 full seasons in the USL League One. The first two with
Yeah.
Omaha, and now with Spokane. What can you say about this level of American soccer? As you've experienced the high of American soccer, what can you say about the third division and what it's able to provide to the players?
Yeah, man, it's critical. I feel like it's really needed for US soccer. Having these different levels of football, it brings a lot of competition. And I see that not just, with MLS and stuff like that, but, I mean, there was a time where Omaha in the Open Cup, they made a run for it and were beating these MLS teams, right? And then
Yeah.
next thing the team blows up and I know I wasn't a part of it. I came just right afterwards, but there was a big buzz about it, and that helps grow the system, right? And it helps give these players opportunities to be seen, and I think it's a great quality to have because these, especially in situations like this where in Spokane they're setting a standard for what a professional team should be, and it's incredible to see how these players are growing and these teams are growing, and the competition is just getting that much more stronger. And you can see that there's not too much of a difference in league play between whether it's the championship in League One or the championship in MLS. So I feel like it's really good for U.S. soccer, and it's really needed to grow the sport.
Yeah, and like we talked about at the top of the show, there's a lot of young players in these
Oh yeah,
leagues
oh yeah,
and college routes, and you have foreign based players who come in. And I mean, it's a very diverse group of players, which is really, really great for not only the clubs and the cities and the economies in those cities, but it's great for the league. And it's great for U.S.
of course.
soccer in general. Yeah, it's awesome to see. Well, and to the point about Omaha, right? Omaha had this great run in the Open Cup, and they blew up. They're able to get a guy like you who has played a
Yeah,
lot of years in MLS, who's played for the
yeah,
national team. That's what U.S. soccer is pouring into the Open Cup, and
of course.
it's what's worked in the past. And we've had our own conversations about the Open Cup on this show and MLS's involvement, but besides the point, it's such a massive advertisement for the lower leagues, if nothing else. And it's
Oh
been really,
yeah,
really great. But
yeah.
no, man, we certainly appreciate you coming to hang out with us. Best of luck the rest of the way. Get that home playoff game. I know we're all rooting
Oh,
for
we
you out
need.
here.
Oh, for sure. Hopefully, we're working towards it. So yeah.
Thank you so much to Luis and to the club for helping facilitate this process to be able to get this done, and everyone that helps put this show on besides me. I know you see me, but there's a lot of people behind the scenes that help make this work. So super grateful to our guest, their club, and the supporting staff here at Goals TV for making this thing happen. Great interview. He's a great storyteller. He's a great talker, and we're always happy to have a guy like Luis on the program. Just so much experience, 15 years of a professional career, and he's happier than he's ever been, which we are super excited to hear. I know the folks up in Spokane are super excited to hear that too as they prepare for a USL League One playoff run coming up in just a few weeks. That's going to do it for us. If you'd like to get in touch with us on the internet, at Rally James IAC on X and Instagram, at USL on Goals. That is the singular Instagram account dedicated to specific content for this program that is available only on Instagram. To make the boss happy, I have to promote the parent company at goals.tv on Instagram, at goals_TV on X, and www.goals.tv for more content just like this and more content exactly like this with the entire catalog of our show available at that URL. That'll do it for us. Thank you so much for watching our program today. For Luis Gil, I'm Riley James. If anyone cares, we'll see you again next week.